If I'm going to spend a minute researching, why keep it to myself? Welcome. I hope you're doing well. And here's a little share from Peter Gibbons. Always brings us good information. And this is a video of two trains that are going to be smashed into one another. And what do you do when you inherit a whole world full of infrastructure and architecture? Well, this is it. You sell tickets to events like this because you have nothing else to do with these trains, and better to make a quick buck off the destruction of the old world seems to be the thinking of the inheritors. Tear down glorious buildings to sell real estate, destroy trains for a ticket fare. And it's not like this just happened once. This was a thing. Similar to a demolition derby. And today I wanted to try a little experiment. I wanted to watch this Flat Earth British episode with good old Martin here. And an episode of Martin's is typically packed full of interesting topics, and I thought I'd just experiment with a little burst, a small segment, and share with you an example of a Flat Earth British episode. So here we're about 6 minutes in, and he's showing us this, what looks like a kind of a Skype call in 1936. Really interesting just how advanced we are discovering this world of the past to be. And it looks like they had little places that you could go into and use one of these phones. Not sure. 1936, we have television. And here reminding us that the civilization before ours, the civilization in which we've inherited, not only left magnificent buildings behind, but everything that would be used in this old world. And we do see signs of several resets. The reset before our time seeming to have been a much more gentle event. Whatever happened clearly removed and wiped out the people, the inhabitants of the civilization prior to ours. But we see signs all throughout our realm of remaining buildings, but that seem to have been hit by some extreme heat and melted. And there are signs of melted and disfigured buildings all throughout this plane. And this seems to be the reset before the last one. And we barely realizing this past civilization has gone missing. And in examples like this that Martin is showing us, certain proofs of technologies way before their time. But that's not so shocking to us that research this topic. As the further back you go, the more magnificent things are. The larger the blocks used in construction, the more massive the doors, and the feats of engineering, as we can see in the Suez Canal, Panama, the Erie, and all the infrastructure found throughout. Here is like a little binocular, a monocular, that was said to have belonged to Napoleon. Just to get a little idea, you see some fine engraving on the side here. Much more magnificent than the junk they sell us today. And again, used by Napoleon. And here Martin shows us this map, this absolutely amazing old map. And we can see America over here pretty much mostly underwater. And over here we can see India, also mostly submerged, and a completely different landscape. Really, this map telling a story. And as we can see up here, looking a little different, a giant pyramid on the top here. Very fascinating. And again, a look at America and this super island here. And I encourage you to check out Martin's video. He'll go over this in much more depth, and he always leaves links to the amazing works he shares. Could be a little taste of one of the past resets, what this realm may have looked like, and truly an excellent part of the puzzle in shedding some light as to the origins of where we came from and where we may be heading. I just wanted to share this map with you that Martin is sharing with us. Fascinating map, really depicting our old world. We can see the 4 continents up here that are said to circle a magnetic rock. We can see the small island of Friesland that's missing. And really we can see civilizations scattered all throughout this realm in a much older time period. Names that are not the names of these cities presently, and in some cases they are similar, like we see Florida up here, and Shilaga. We also see parts of Africa inhabited, and also parts of South America with massive towns depicted along the Amazon, and even in the mountains of Peru. And here again, a glimpse at the world that has been taken from us. And oftentimes we speak of Tartaria, here we go, simply a people within this scattered range of civilization all throughout, and depicting beautiful castles, and even up here in Greenland, civilization, a castle much more than our modern maps, which show a city as a giant dot. Here, these glorious cities depicted as small castles. And again, these don't exist today. And these land masses up here in the north are not shown on Google Earth or modern maps. Greenland is covered in ice and snow. Friesland down here, this rather large island, is now missing. And the further back you go, you also see castles on this island. And again, I encourage you to watch Martin's video. And now I just wanted to show this old depiction in this book. And Martin always shares these old images with us, being very old books depicting a very old time. I've always been fascinated with the depictions of King Solomon's temple and all the activities going on around, all the beautiful architecture, as we can even see here in the background, yet already seeming to be partially in ruins, even in this old time. Massive buildings in the background, back here as well. Looks like a little pan creature playing his flute. But what I wanted to mention in this little segment was the art. And seldom is the artwork of old given as much credit as I think it deserves. Almost with a photograph-like accuracy, depicting scenes that make you wonder, is this some sort of capturing of an image? Something beyond our understanding. And as an artist, I appreciate this art. Every detail is done with absolute perfection, and perhaps if it was spray painted on the side of a building, it may be given the appreciation it deserves. And this is true with the music as well. Seldom is the old classical music attributed to the past replicated in modern times, seeming to almost be missing the spirit-moving undertones found in these compositions of old. And here we see a coin. Not really sure about the origins of this coin, but what we see is the date of 1669. Very fascinating. Very advanced printing of coins for this time period, and perhaps even older. I'm sure you've seen talk of the idea that When looking at old coinage or artwork or anything from antiquity, what we notice is what initially looks like a 1 and what we take as a 1 in the mainstream narrative, but when examined carefully, it is most often more so the letter I. And when studying the reset and the timeline, what we begin to notice, especially with this suspicious I, or sometimes a J, is that this would make the date here actually 669, the year 669. And with the misinterpretation of this small detail, being the letter I, the controllers and writers of the narrative have simply added 1,000 years to our timeline. And naturally, if somebody asked me to rewrite our history, it would be a great benefit to have an extra 1,000 years, allowing a little cushion for scripting a new narrative and timeline. And here's a fine coin from 1587, and really giving us a good and clear idea of how advanced the old world was. 1587, we see a cathedral, an amazing building, minted on a coin. All sorts of amazing antiquitech. And how could it be? How could these people of the 1500s erect such glorious structures? And let's look at the other side of the coin. Look at this city. What is going on here in the 1500s? And these are the kinds of cities we're seeing depicted on the old map we are looking at. Absolutely splendid. This is a taste of the old world. And these crests found all around are the nations of the old world. And this is all we have here. This nation appears to have been associated with Tartaria. And down here, this one, we noticed on the older map by Ortelius earlier in the video, seeming to occupy many portions in what seemed to be South Africa. And here again, these cities of old in the year 1653, or again, possibly 653. And look at this. First of all, we get some sort of UFO with clouds coming out of it, and again a city that rivals any today in this massive starfort wall, and just super advanced. And here Jane Marple tells us that she was listening to a lecture by Rudolf Steiner from 1912, and he mentioned in passing the magnetism of the dynamo that powers the manufacturing factory. I had to look up what a dynamo is, and Wikipedia has a page on it. Fascinating. This magnetically powered generator that was so commonly used may be the key to figuring out some of the old world. Forgive me, I added that last part. So here we are. Did a little search here, and boom. Dynamo. What a common and somewhat silly kind of name, something we attribute to superhero or something silly, something not real. And I have found this in my research. Oftentimes, some stupid name, or in more recent times, maybe a stupid movie, created in order to discredit something real. And here I'm sure we've all heard or maybe even used this word dynamo without having any idea what it is. As with myself, right now. So here we are. A dynamo is an electric generator that creates direct current using a commutator. Dynamos were first electric generators capable of delivering power for industry, and the foundation upon which many other later electric power conversion devices were based, including the electric motor, the alternating current alternator, and the rotary converter. Today, the simpler alternator dominates large-scale power generation for efficiency, reliability, and cost reasons. A dynamo has the disadvantages of a mechanical commutator, also converting alternating to direct current using power rectification devices such as vacuum tubes or more recently solid-state technology. Here we can have a little look at this old drawing of a dynamo at a first glance, seeming very alternator-like. The original dynamo principle by Werner von Siemens referred only to the direct current generators which used exclusively the self-excitation or self-induction principle to generate DC power. The earlier DC generators which used permanent magnets were not considered dynamo electric machines. And interesting that the earlier DC generators which use magnets, it seems here that something came after the DC generator, and yet somehow we reverted back to the DC generator. The invention of the dynamo principle, self-induction, was a huge technological leap over the old traditional permanent magnet DC generators. The discovery of the dynamo principle made industrial-scale electric power generation technically and economically feasible. The electric dynamo uses rotary coils of wire and magnetic fields to convert mechanical rotation into a pulsing direct electric current. And in short, from what I can tell, this dynamo produces a magnetic field. It's said that even when it's not in operation, it maintains a small magnetic field or a small charge. And very interesting. I want to dig into this more. They tell us that dynamos are no longer used due to the size and complexity of commutators needed for high power applications. First time seeing this, what seems to be an old free energy device. And I'd be interested to hear if any of you have ever seen or heard about one of these. Could this be a subtle disclosure? And as Jane says here, this may be the key to figuring out some of the old. Fascinating share, and I thank you for this. I just wanted to share a little example of a typical flat earth British episode. I thought I would unwrap the gift with you all. Thank you, Martin. And thank you, God. And thank you all for joining me today. I do hope you enjoyed, and have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.